Captain Lee Do-hyun stood on the bridge of the Earth Defense Station, watching the massive alien ships appear in Earth's sky. One moment the space around Earth was empty, and the next moment 12 enormous vessels hung there like floating cities. Each ship was easily 10 times larger than Earth's biggest space station. "Sir, we're getting similar reports from Mars and the colony worlds," reported his communications officer. The aliens appeared everywhere at the same time. Do-hyun felt his heart racing. Humanity had been traveling to other star systems for only 15 years. They had found no signs of alien life anywhere. Now suddenly, 12 alien ships were sitting right above Earth like they owned the place. "Are their weapons powered?" he asked. "No, sir. In fact, they're broadcasting on all frequencies. They want to talk." Dr. Park Min-ji rushed onto the bridge, still wearing her lab coat. As Earth's top expert on the possibility of alien life, she had been studying every piece of data they could gather about the mysterious ships. "Captain, you need to see this," she said, her voice shaking with excitement. "These ships are using technology we can barely understand. Their energy readings are off the charts, but they're not threatening us. They're actually sending what looks like greeting protocols." Ambassador Kim Hye-jin arrived minutes later, followed by engineer Choi Jun-ho. The bridge was quickly becoming crowded, but nobody wanted to miss humanity's first contact with alien life. The main screen flickered, and suddenly they were looking at an alien face. The being had smooth gray-green skin and large dark eyes. When it spoke, the words came through their translation systems in perfect English. "Greetings, people of Earth. I am Ambassador Veltar of the Galactic Confederation of Worlds. We come in peace to offer your species a great opportunity." Do-hyun stepped forward. "This is Captain Lee Do-hyun of the Earth Defense Force. We're honored by your visit. What kind of opportunity are you offering?" Veltar's face showed what might have been a smile. "Captain, your species has recently achieved faster-than-light travel. This means you are ready to join the galactic community. We are here to offer Earth membership in the Confederation and, most importantly, our protection." "Protection?" Ambassador Kim Hye-jin moved closer to the screen. "Protection from what?" For just a moment, Veltar seemed uncomfortable. His large eyes darted to the side before looking back at them. "The galaxy can be a dangerous place for young species like yours. There are threats out there that could destroy entire worlds. The Confederation has kept peace in this region of space for thousands of years." Engineer Choi Jun-ho was studying the readings from the alien ships. Something bothered him about their design. The ships looked like they were built for war, not diplomacy. Heavy armor, weapon ports, and defensive systems that seemed way too advanced for simple peacekeeping. "What would this protection involve?" asked Ambassador Kim. "The Standard Protection Accord is quite simple," Veltar replied. "Earth would provide 15% of your annual resources to support Confederation operations. You would follow Confederation law in all matters involving other species, and when needed you would provide military support to help maintain galactic peace." The bridge fell silent. Dr. Park Min-ji frowned. "That sounds less like protection and more like taxation." "It is a small price for the benefits you would receive," Veltar said quickly. "We would share our advanced technology with you. Your people would be free to travel anywhere in Confederation space. Most importantly, no hostile force would dare attack a Confederation member world." Captain Do-hyun studied the alien's face carefully. He had spent 20 years in the military, and he knew when someone was hiding something. "Ambassador Veltar, can you tell us more about these threats we need protection from?" Again, that uncomfortable pause. There are various hostile forces in the galaxy. Pirates, rogue species, ancient enemies of civilization. The details are classified information, shared only with full Confederation members. "But surely you can give us some idea of what we're facing," Ambassador Kim pressed. "How can we make an informed decision without knowing what dangers exist?" Veltar's image flickered slightly. "I understand your curiosity, but this information is restricted for your own safety. Young species often panic when they learn about certain galactic threats. It is better that you trust in our protection." Engineer Choi Jun-ho looked up from his readings. "Captain, I'm detecting some unusual energy signatures from their ships. They have technology installed that I can't identify." "What kind of technology?" Dr. Park Min-ji asked. "I'm not sure, but it seems designed to interact with our computer systems, almost like surveillance equipment." Veltar continued talking as if he hadn't heard them. "The Confederation Council is prepared to fast-track Earth's membership. We could have the Protection Accord signed within days. Time is important here. Why is time important? Captain Do-hyun asked sharply. The galaxy does not wait for anyone, Captain. The longer Earth remains unprotected, the greater the risk becomes. Ambassador Kim Hyejin stepped forward. Ambassador Veltar, I appreciate your offer. But I have one simple question that I need answered before we can proceed. Of course. What is your question? Kim looked directly at the alien ambassador, her voice clear and steady. You keep talking about protection and galactic threats, but you haven't told us the most basic thing we need to know. Protection from whom exactly? The change in Veltar was immediate and obvious. His large eyes widened and his smooth skin seemed to pale slightly. For several seconds he said nothing at all. When he finally spoke, his voice was different, more careful. That is, that information is classified at the highest levels. It is not appropriate for species that have not yet joined the Confederation. But how can we agree to protection if we don't know what we're being protected from? Dr. Park Minji asked. That doesn't make any sense. Trust is the foundation of the Confederation, Veltar replied, but his voice sounded strained. We have protected hundreds of worlds for thousands of years. Our record speaks for itself. Captain Do-hyun felt something cold forming in his stomach. In his experience, when someone refused to answer a simple, direct question, it usually meant the answer was something you wouldn't like. Ambassador, with respect, that's not really an answer, he said. We're being asked to commit our entire planet to this arrangement. Surely we have the right to know what threats exist in the galaxy. The threats are real, I assure you, Veltar said. But the nature of these threats is information that could cause panic among developing civilizations. It is for your own good that we keep these details classified. Engineer Choi Junho was still studying his readings. Captain, those energy signatures I mentioned? They're getting stronger. It's almost like their ships are scanning our entire planet. Ambassador Kim tried again. Perhaps you could give us just a general idea? Are we talking about hostile alien species? Natural disasters? Ancient weapons? Veltar's image flickered again, and this time it seemed intentional, like he was buying time to think. I am not authorized to discuss the specific nature of galactic threats with non-members. I can only assure you that the Confederation's protection is both necessary and effective. The bridge crew exchanged glances. Something was very wrong here. These aliens had traveled across space to offer Earth protection, but they refused to explain what Earth needed protection from. They wanted resources, military support, and complete legal compliance. But they wouldn't provide basic information about the threats they claimed to be protecting against. We'll need time to consider your offer, Captain Do-hyun said finally. Of course, but please do not take too long. As I said, time is important. We will remain in your system for 72 hours to receive your answer. The screen went dark, leaving the bridge crew staring at a blank display. Well, said Dr. Park Minji after a long silence. That was interesting. Interesting isn't the word I'd use, muttered Engineer Choi Junho. Sir, I really don't like those energy readings. And did you notice how nervous he got when Ambassador Kim asked that question? Ambassador Kim was frowning. In 20 years of diplomacy, I've never had anyone refuse to explain what they were protecting me from. That's like buying insurance without knowing what it covers. Captain Do-hyun looked out at the alien ships hanging in Earth's sky like silent threats. I think we need to find out what the Galactic Confederation doesn't want us to know. And we need to find out fast. Within hours of the alien meeting, every government on Earth was in emergency session. The news of first contact had spread across the planet, and billions of people were watching their leaders debate humanity's future. Captain Lee Do-hyun sat in a secure briefing room deep beneath the Earth Defense Headquarters. Around the table were the people who would help him figure out what the Confederation was really offering. Colonel Bae Won-ho, head of military intelligence, spread files across the table. We've been monitoring all alien communications since they arrived. Most of it is encrypted, but we've picked up some interesting patterns. Dr. Song Nari, Earth's top astrophysicist, pulled up images on the main screen. I've been studying their ship designs. These aren't exploration vessels or diplomatic ships. Every one of them is a warship, built for heavy combat. That doesn't necessarily mean they're hostile, said Ambassador Kim Hyejin, though she didn't sound convinced. Maybe they need to be ready for these mysterious threats they keep talking about. Commander Oh Tae-wan, a veteran space patrol officer, shook his head. I've been flying combat missions for 15 years. I know weapon systems when I see them. Those ships have enough firepower to destroy entire planets. Engineer Choi Junho was hunched over his laptop, still analyzing the data from the alien ships. There's something else. Remember those energy signatures I detected? I've figured out what they are. Everyone turned to look at him. His face was pale. They're scanning everything. Every computer system, every communication network, every database on Earth. But it's not just scanning. They've installed monitoring programs in our systems. Dr. Park Minji leaned forward. What kind of monitoring programs? The kind that can track everything we do. Every message we send, every file we access, every conversation we have. And worse than that, they have remote shutdown capabilities. The room fell silent. Captain Doyen felt his jaw tighten. They can shut down our systems? All of them. Power grids, communication networks, defense systems, everything. They installed backdoors in every piece of technology they've shared with us so far. Colonel Bei Wanho slammed his hand on the table. That's not protection. That's preparation for invasion. Maybe we're jumping to conclusions, Ambassador Kim said, but her voice lacked conviction. Perhaps this is standard procedure for them. Dr. Songnari pulled up more images. I don't think we're jumping to conclusions. Look at this damage analysis I ran on their ships. The screen showed detailed scans of the alien vessels. Several had obvious battle damage that had been repaired. This damage is recent, within the last few months. And look at the weapon impacts. She highlighted several areas. These weren't made by primitive weapons. Whatever hit these ships had technology almost as advanced as theirs. Commander Oh Tae-hwan studied the images. If they're fighting someone with similar technology, then where are these primitive threats they keep talking about? That's what I've been wondering, Dr. Songnari continued. If the galaxy is full of dangerous primitive species, why do their ships show damage from advanced weapons? Colonel Bei Wanho opened another file. I think I might have part of the answer. We intercepted some of their communications last night. Most of it was encrypted, but we caught a few fragments. He played an audio recording. The alien voices were speaking in their own language. But the translation system could pick up some words. Earth evaluation proceeding. Potential asset. Confirmed. Strategic location optimal for operations. Against. The recording cut off their asset? Captain Do-hyun repeated. They called us an asset, not an ally. There's more, Colonel Bei continued. Another fragment mentioned something about standard recruitment protocols and resource acquisition targets. Dr. Park Minji looked sick. They're not offering us protection. They're recruiting us. Engineer Choi Junho looked up from his computer. I've been digging deeper into their gift technology. The more I study it, the more obvious it becomes. This isn't just surveillance and control. It's designed to make us completely dependent on them. How do you mean? Asked Ambassador Kim. Once we integrate their technology into our infrastructure, we won't be able to function without it. Our power systems, our computers, our communication networks, even our weapons, everything will require their technology to operate. Commander Oh Tae-hwan stood up and began pacing. So they make us dependent. Then they control us completely. This isn't protection, it's slavery. But what about these galactic threats they keep mentioning? Dr. Park Minji asked. Those have to be real, right? Dr. Songnari pulled up a star chart. That's what bothers me most. If there are all these dangerous species out there, where are they? We've been exploring space for 15 years. We've visited dozens of star systems. We haven't found any signs of hostile aliens anywhere. Maybe they're further out, suggested Ambassador Kim. Or maybe, said Captain Do-hyun slowly, the threats aren't what we think they are. Colonel Bei Wanho opened his laptop. I've been thinking the same thing, so I started researching the Confederation's history. It took some creative hacking, but I found some interesting files in their databases. You hacked their systems? Dr. Park Minji looked shocked. If they can spy on us, we can spy on them, Colonel Bei replied. And what I found is very interesting. According to their own records, the Confederation has protected over 300 species in the last 1,000 years. That sounds good, said Ambassador Kim hopefully. It would be, except for one thing. According to the same records, over 50 species refused their protection offer. And every single one of those species was later classified as a galactic threat and subsequently conquered for the safety of the galaxy. The room went dead quiet. Captain Do-hyun felt his blood turn cold. You're saying they create their own threats? Commander Oh Tae-hwan asked. I'm saying that every species that refused to join the Confederation was eventually destroyed by the Confederation. For galactic security, of course. Engineer Choi Junho was typing frantically on his computer. That explains the battle damage on their ships. They're not fighting primitive threats. They're fighting other advanced species. Dr. Songnari was studying the star charts again. If that's true, then what are these mysterious enemies they won't tell us about? Before anyone could answer, Colonel Bei Wanho's computer chimed with an incoming message. He read it quickly and his face went white. What is it? Captain Do-hyun asked. I just received a message from one of my intelligence contacts. They've been monitoring alien communications around Earth. An hour ago, Ambassador Veltar sent a message to the Confederation Council. What did it say? Colonel Bei Wanho read from his screen. Earth species shows unusual resistance to standard protocols. They are asking questions that other species did not ask. Recommend accelerated timeline for compliance or alternative measures. Alternative measures? Dr. Park Minji whispered. There's more, Colonel Bei continued. The response from the council was even more interesting. It said, maintain diplomatic facade. If Earth continues to resist, implement containment protocols. We cannot allow another species to discover the truth about the Wanderers. Who are the Wanderers? Ambassador Kim asked. I don't know, Colonel Bei replied. But I think we need to find out. Because whatever the truth is about the Wanderers, the Confederation is willing to destroy us to keep it secret. Captain Do-hyun stood up, his mind racing. Everything was becoming clear now. The Confederation wasn't offering protection from galactic threats. The Confederation was the galactic threat. We need more information, he said, and we need it fast. If they're planning alternative measures, we don't have much time. Dr. Songnari was already pulling up navigation charts. If we're going to find the truth, we need to look beyond Confederation space. We need to find these Wanderers. That's incredibly dangerous, Commander Otaewon pointed out. If the Confederation finds out we're investigating them, then we make sure they don't find out, Captain Do-hyun replied. Because if we don't uncover the truth, humanity is going to end up like those 50 other species that refused their protection. Ambassador Kim looked around the room at the grim faces. So what do? We do what humans do best, Captain Do-hyun said with a determined smile. We ask questions that nobody wants us to ask, and we don't stop until we get answers. 3 days later, a small human scout ship slipped quietly away from Earth. Pilot Lim So-young was at the controls, with Dr. Kang Min-ho monitoring the sensors and Admiral Yoon Soo-jin commanding the mission. Their ship was equipped with the latest stealth technology and had been modified to avoid Confederation detection systems. Remember, we're officially on a routine patrol mission to the outer colonies, Admiral Yoon said. If anyone asks, we never left human space. Pilot Lim So-young adjusted their course toward the edge of known space. How far out are we going, Admiral? As far as we need to go to find these Wanderers, she replied. The Confederation is hiding something big, and we're going to find out what it is. Dr. Kang Min-ho was studying star charts and historical data. As Earth's leading military strategist, he had been analyzing every piece of information they had about galactic history. Based on the communication intercepts, the Wanderers seem to be somewhere beyond Confederation territory, he said. But that's a huge area of space. We'll start with the sectors that show the most battle damage, Admiral Yoon decided. If there's an ongoing conflict, there should be evidence. For 2 days, they traveled through empty space, seeing nothing but stars and cosmic dust. Then on the 3rd day, pilot Lim So-young's sensors detected something unusual. Admiral, I'm reading massive debris fields ahead. It looks like the aftermath of a huge space battle. How recent? Dr. Kang Min-ho asked. Based on the radiation patterns, maybe 6 months old. But Admiral, the scale of this destruction is incredible. There must have been hundreds of ships involved. They moved carefully through the debris field, recording everything they saw. The wreckage was from ships with technology similar to the Confederation, but there were also pieces from vessels with completely different designs. Look at this, Dr. Kang Min-ho said, pointing to his scanner readings. Some of this debris shows weapons damage that's far more advanced than anything the Confederation showed us. Admiral Yoon studied the readings. So we have 2 sides with advanced technology fighting each other. This isn't a primitive species being conquered by a superior civilization. As they moved deeper into the debris field, pilot Lim So-young detected something on her long-range sensors. Admiral, there's something large about 10 kilometers ahead. It's not wreckage. It's moving, but very slowly. Battle stations, Admiral Yoon ordered, though their small scout ship had limited weapons. Approach carefully. What they found was a massive ship, clearly damaged and drifting. Its design was unlike anything they had seen before. The hull was sleek and organic-looking, with flowing lines that seemed almost alive. It's not Confederation technology, Dr. Kang Minho observed. The design philosophy is completely different. I'm detecting weak life signs aboard, Pilot Lim So-young reported. Whatever species built this ship, some of them are still alive. Admiral Yoon made a command decision. We're going to board that ship. We need to know what we're dealing with. An hour later, they were floating through the corridors of the alien vessel. Emergency lighting cast strange shadows on walls that curved like the inside of a shell. The air was thin but breathable. They found the survivors in what appeared to be a medical bay. 3 beings lay in what looked like healing pods. They were tall and slender, with pale blue skin and large, gentle eyes. When the humans appeared, the aliens showed no fear, only curiosity. One of them spoke, and the translation device picked up the words. You are not Confederation. What species are you? We're humans from Earth, Admiral Yoon replied. Are you the Wanderers? The alien's large eyes widened. You know that name? How do you know what the Confederation calls us? Dr. Kang Minho stepped forward. The Confederation offered to protect our world from galactic threats. They mentioned the Wanderers but wouldn't tell us who you are. The alien tried to sit up, wincing with pain. My name is Healer Senth. We are not called Wanderers by choice. We are refugees. Refugees from what? Pilot Lim So-young asked. Healer Senth's expression became sad and angry at the same time. Refugees from our own worlds. The Confederation took everything from us. Admiral Yoon felt her heart sink. What do you mean, took everything? The Confederation came to our worlds 500 years ago with the same offer they probably made to you. Protection from galactic threats. We accepted, grateful for their help. And then, Dr. Kang Minho prompted, at first it seemed wonderful. They shared technology, opened trade routes, brought us into their galactic community. But slowly we realized we had given up our freedom. They controlled our resources, our laws, our military. When some of our people protested, they were arrested for threatening galactic security. Healer Senth paused, gathering strength to continue. When we finally tried to leave the Confederation, they declared us a threat to galactic peace. They said we had been corrupted by hostile influences and needed to be contained for the safety of other species. Contained how? Admiral Yoon asked, though she was beginning to fear the answer. They destroyed our homeworlds, Healer Senth said quietly. Billions of our people died. Those of us who escaped have been fighting them ever since, trying to warn other species about what the Confederation really is. The medical bay fell silent except for the hum of alien life support systems. Dr. Kang Minho was the first to speak. How many species has this happened to? We don't know exactly. We've encountered refugees from at least 20 different civilizations over the past few centuries. All of them have the same story. The Confederation offers protection, slowly takes control, and then destroys anyone who tries to leave. Pilot Lim So-young was checking her scanners. Admiral, we need to be careful. I'm detecting Confederation patrol ships heading this way. Admiral Yoon turned back to Healer Senth. We have to go, but we'll be back. We need to know everything you can tell us about the Confederation. Healer Senth grabbed her arm with surprising strength. Be very careful. The Confederation has had thousands of years to perfect their methods. They know exactly how to make species believe they need protection. By the time most civilizations realize the truth, it's too late. What can we do? Dr. Kang Minho asked. Don't sign their accord. And if you can, warn other species in the Confederation. Many of them don't realize they've been enslaved. They still believe the Confederation is protecting them. As they prepared to leave, Healer Senth gave them one final warning. The Confederation's greatest weapon is not their technology. It's their lies. They make species afraid of threats that don't exist, so they willingly give up their freedom for false security. The journey back to Earth was quiet, each human lost in their own thoughts. Everything they had suspected was true, but the reality was even worse than they had imagined. We have to tell Earth what we learned, Admiral Yoon said finally. Will they believe us? Pilot Lim So-young asked. Dr. Kang Minho was reviewing his notes. They'll have to. Because if we don't stop the Confederation, Earth will end up just like all those other worlds. destroyed for refusing to be enslaved. There's something else we need to consider, Admiral Yoon said. If the Confederation finds out we've been investigating them, they'll move against Earth immediately. We need to be very careful about how we handle this information. What do you recommend? Dr. Kang Minho asked. Admiral Yoon looked out at the stars, thinking about the billions of people on Earth who were counting on them to make the right decision. We tell the truth, she said. All of it. And then we prepare for war, because one way or another, the Confederation isn't going to let Earth walk away from this. As their ship approached Earth, they could see the alien vessels still hanging in orbit like patient predators. Admiral Yoon wondered how many other species had seen those same ships in their skies, not knowing they were looking at their own doom. Contact Captain Do-Yun, she ordered. Tell him we have the answers he's been looking for, and tell him he's not going to like what we found. The truth about the Galactic Confederation was about to change everything for humanity. The only question now was whether Earth would be strong enough to survive what came next. The emergency session of Earth's leadership was held in the most secure facility on the planet. Representatives from every nation sat around a massive table, listening to Admiral Yoon Soo-jin's report about the Wanderers. The silence that followed her presentation was heavy with shock and fear. General Park Dong-soo, Supreme Commander of Earth's Defense Forces, was the first to speak. So you're telling us that this confederation has been destroying entire civilizations for thousands of years, and they're planning to do the same to us? That's exactly what I'm telling you, Admiral Yoon replied. The Wanderers we met have been fighting them for 500 years, trying to warn other species. The Confederation calls them terrorists and galactic threats, but they're actually refugees trying to save their families. Dr. Shin Yoon-ji, Earth's top weapons researcher, looked pale. How many species are we talking about? How big is this confederation? Based on what we learned, they control most of this region of the galaxy. Hundreds of worlds, maybe thousands. All of them believe they're being protected when they're actually being enslaved. President Moon Jae-hyun leaned forward. And the species that refused their protection? Destroyed, Admiral Yoon said simply. Every single one. The Confederation frames them as galactic threats and then wipes them out for the safety of the galaxy. Captain Ryu Ji-won, who commanded Earth's Special Operations Forces, slammed her fist on the table. This is insane. How has no one exposed them before? Because they're very good at what they do, Admiral Yoon explained. They've had thousands of years to perfect their system. Most species never learn the truth until it's too late. General Park Dong-soo studied the data Admiral Yoon had brought back. What about our military capabilities? Can we fight them? Engineer Choi Junho, who had been analyzing Confederation technology, shook his head. Not directly. Their ships are more advanced than anything we have. But I've been working on something that might help. What kind of something? Dr. Shin Yoon-ji asked. I've been reverse engineering their technology, specifically the monitoring and control systems they installed in our networks. If I can figure out how their systems work, maybe I can create countermeasures. Captain Lee Do-yun, who had been quietly listening, finally spoke up. There's something else we need to consider. We can't just refuse their offer and hope for the best. They'll destroy us like they destroyed all the others. So what do you suggest? President Moon asked. We expose them, Captain Do-hyun said. We make the truth public not just to Earth but to every species in the Confederation. The room erupted in discussion. Some leaders thought it was too dangerous while others believed it was their only hope. Ambassador Kim Hye-jin raised her hand for silence. How would we even do that? We can't just send messages to alien worlds and expect them to believe us. Actually, we can, said Engineer Choi Junho. I've been studying their communication networks. If I can hack into their systems, we could broadcast the truth to every Confederation world simultaneously. That's incredibly risky, General Park Dong-soo pointed out. If they catch us, they'll attack immediately. They're going to attack anyway, Captain Do-hyun replied. The question is whether we go down fighting or whether we take them down with us. Dr. Shin Yoon-ji had been reviewing the weapons data. There's another option. We could pretend to accept their offer, while secretly preparing for rebellion. Once we learn more about their technology and military structure, we could strike from within. That's even more dangerous, Ambassador Kim objected. They'll have complete control over our systems. They could shut down our entire civilization with the push of a button. Not if we have countermeasures in place, Engineer Choi Junho said. Give me a few more days and I think I can neutralize their control systems. President Moon stood up and walked to the window, looking out at the alien ships hanging in Earth's sky. What if we tried something they wouldn't expect? What do you mean? Captain Do-hyun asked. According to Admiral Yoon's report, no species has ever demanded a public trial before the Confederation Assembly. What if we demanded the right to face our accusers before all the member species? The room fell silent as everyone considered this idea. You mean put the Confederation itself on trial? General Park Dong-soo asked. Exactly. We demand the right to examine the evidence of these galactic threats they keep talking about. We demand to face these threats in open court before we agree to protection. Ambassador Kim's eyes lit up. That could work. They can't refuse without looking suspicious to their own members, and it would give us a platform to present the truth to every species in the Confederation. It's brilliant, Captain Do-hyun agreed. They've built their entire system on keeping the truth hidden. If we force them into the open, their lies fall apart. Dr. Shin Yoonji was already thinking tactically. While they're dealing with the political crisis, we prepare for military action. We contact the Wanderers, share our technology, coordinate a joint strike. And if it doesn't work? President Moon asked. Then at least we go down fighting, General Park Dong-soo said grimly. And we make sure every species in the galaxy knows the truth about the Confederation. Engineer Choi Junho was typing rapidly on his laptop. I can have the countermeasures ready in 48 hours. If you're going to demand this trial, that's when we should do it. What about contacting other Confederation members secretly? Captain Ryujiwan asked. If we could get even a few species to question the Confederation, it would help our cause. Admiral Yoon nodded. The Wanderers gave me contact information for other refugee groups. Some of them have spies still inside Confederation space. They might be able to help. How long do we have before the Confederation expects an answer? Ambassador Kim asked. They said 72 hours originally, Captain Do-hyun replied. That was 5 days ago. They're going to start getting suspicious soon. President Moon made his decision. We do this. We demand a public trial. We prepare our countermeasures and we contact every ally we can find. If the Confederation wants to destroy us, they're going to have to do it in front of the entire galaxy. Over the next 2 days, Earth became a hive of secret activity. Engineer Choi Junho worked around the clock to develop countermeasures against Confederation control systems. Dr. Shin Yoonji reverse-engineered alien weapons and began producing improved versions using human technology. Captain Ryu Ji-won coordinated with Wanderer refugees to plan joint military operations. Meanwhile, Ambassador Kim Hye-jin prepared the most important speech of her life. She would demand trial before the Confederation Assembly, and she would use that platform to expose thousands of years of lies and genocide. Captain Do-hyun was reviewing final preparations when his communication officer approached him. Sir, the aliens are requesting an immediate meeting. Ambassador Veltar says they need Earth's answer now. Perfect timing, Captain Do-hyun replied. Tell them we're ready to give our answer. An hour later, the human delegation faced Ambassador Veltar on the main screen. The alien looked impatient and slightly annoyed. Captain Do-hyun, it has been longer than the agreed time. What is Earth's decision regarding the Protection Accord? Captain Do-hyun smiled. We have a decision, Ambassador. But first we have a request. What kind of request? We demand trial before the full Confederation Assembly. Veltar's large eyes widened in shock. Trial? What are you talking about? Ambassador Kim stepped forward. You've offered us protection from galactic threats, but you refuse to tell us what those threats are. We demand the right to examine the evidence against these threats before we commit our species to your protection. That is not how this works, Veltar stammered. Then how does it work? Captain Do-hyun asked. Because from where we sit, it looks like you're asking us to sign a blank check. We want to see exactly what threats exist in the galaxy before we agree to anything. Veltar was clearly panicking. This is highly irregular. No species has ever demanded such a thing. Well, we're demanding it now, Ambassador Kim said firmly. We want a public trial before the entire Confederation Assembly. We want to face these galactic threats you keep talking about, and we want every member species to see the evidence. If you refuse, Captain Do-hyun added, then we'll assume there are no real threats, and we'll decline your protection offer. The alien's image flickered as he desperately tried to contact his superiors. When he returned, his voice was strained. I will need to consult with the Confederation Council about this unprecedented request. You do that, Ambassador Kim replied. We'll be waiting for their answer. The screen went dark, leaving the human delegation alone with their thoughts. Think it worked? Captain Do-hyun asked. Either it worked, Ambassador Kim replied, or we just declared war on the most powerful force in the galaxy. Good, said General Park Dong-soo from behind them. It's about time someone did. The Confederation Assembly was the largest gathering of intelligent species in galactic history. Representatives from over 400 worlds filled the massive chamber that floated in space at the heart of Confederation territory. For most of them, this was routine business, another primitive species joining their protective alliance. President Moon Jae-hyun stood at the center of the assembly floor, looking up at hundreds of alien faces. Some looked like humans. Others were so strange he could barely understand their biology. All of them believed they were part of a great galactic peacekeeping organization. Ambassador Veltar was addressing the assembly, trying to maintain the illusion of normality. The species from Earth has made an unusual request. They wish to examine evidence of galactic threats before accepting our protection. Murmurs rippled through the assembly. Several representatives were whispering to each other, clearly confused by this development. High Counselor Zethmar, a tall reptilian being who led the Confederation Council, spoke into the silence. This request is unprecedented and unnecessary. The Confederation's protection protocols have been successful for thousands of years. President Moon stepped forward. Honored delegates, my species appreciates the Confederation's offer. But we have one simple question that we believe every species here should ask themselves. The assembly fell silent, waiting. The Confederation offers protection from galactic threats, but in all our discussions they have refused to tell us one basic thing. Protection from whom exactly? The reaction was immediate and dramatic. Many delegates began talking at once, some nodding in agreement, others looking confused. High Counselor Zethmar raised his hand for silence, but his voice was strained. The nature of galactic threats is classified information, shared only with full members for security reasons. But why? President Moon pressed. If these threats are real, why hide them? Shouldn't every species know what dangers exist in the galaxy? A delegate from near the back of the assembly stood up. I am Representative Clax from the hegemony of Torth. We have been Confederation members for 300 years, and I have never seen evidence of these galactic threats. Another voice joined in. Representative Yilnara from the Sisterhood of Vega. We joined the Confederation to protect against ancient threats, but those threats never materialized. High Counselor Zethmar was losing control of the assembly. The threats are real. The Wanderer terrorists prove that hostile forces exist. President Moon smiled. Ah yes, the Wanderers. Tell me, Counselor, what exactly makes them terrorists? They attack Confederation ships. They spread lies about our organization. They threaten galactic peace. Or, President Moon said loudly, his voice carrying across the assembly, they are refugees from worlds you destroyed fighting for their freedom. The assembly erupted in chaos. Delegates were shouting questions, demanding answers, arguing among themselves. High Counselor Zethmar slammed his gavel repeatedly, trying to restore order. Commander Seo Gayan, who was monitoring from Earth, watched as their plan unfolded perfectly. The human fleet was hidden just outside the assembly station, along with ships from Wanderer refugees and several species that had secretly joined their cause. Sir, her communications officer reported, we're receiving messages from ships throughout the assembly. Some Confederation members are requesting private communications with us. Put them through, Commander SEO ordered. One by one, representatives from various species contacted the human fleet. All of them had the same questions that were now being asked openly in the assembly. Representative Clax was the first to demand real answers. High Counselor, I formally request that you present evidence of these galactic threats to the assembly. After 300 years of membership, I think we deserve to know what we're being protected from. Seconded, called Representative Yilnara. Thirded, shouted another delegate. Soon, dozens of species were demanding transparency from the Confederation Council. High Counselor Zethmar looked around the assembly with growing panic. This information is classified at the highest levels. It cannot be shared in open session. Then we demand a closed session with full evidence presentation, Representative Clax declared. No more secrets, no more excuses. Show us these threats or admit they don't exist. President Moon could see that some delegates were beginning to understand the truth, but he knew the Confederation wouldn't give up without a fight. "There's something else you should all know," he announced. "The Confederation has installed monitoring and control systems in every member world's technology. They can shut down your planetary defenses, your communication networks, even your life support systems, anytime they choose." This revelation caused even more chaos. Delegates were frantically checking their data systems, confirming what President Moon had told them. High Counselor Zethmar finally lost his composure completely. "Enough. This primitive species is spreading lies and discord. Guards, arrest the human delegation." But something unexpected happened. Many of the Confederation security forces hesitated, looking uncertain. Some even stepped back instead of moving forward. Representative Clack stood up again. "On whose authority are you arresting them? They have committed no crime except asking questions. They are spreading terrorist propaganda," Zethmar shouted. "Asking for evidence is not terrorism," Representative Yilnara replied firmly. "If you cannot provide proof of these galactic threats, then maybe the humans are right to question them." Commander Seo Gaion received an urgent communication from Earth. "Commander, Confederation military units are moving toward Earth. They're preparing to implement what they call containment protocols. All units prepare for battle," she ordered. The Confederation just showed their true nature to the entire galaxy. Back in the assembly, the chaos was reaching a breaking point. Nearly half the delegates were now demanding answers from the Confederation Council, while the other half were confused and frightened by the revelations. Then Healer Senth entered the assembly chamber. The Wanderer refugee had been waiting for this moment. As soon as he appeared, Confederation security forces raised their weapons, but hundreds of delegates shouted for them to stand down. "My name is Healer Senth," he announced to the assembly. 500 years ago, my people were members of this confederation. We believed in galactic peace and cooperation. Then we learned the truth." He activated a holographic display showing the destruction of his homeworld. "This is what happens to species that try to leave the Confederation. Billions of my people died, not because we were a threat to anyone, but because we refused to be enslaved." The assembly fell silent as they watched the horrific images. Entire cities burning, evacuation ships being destroyed, civilian populations fleeing in terror. The Confederation told their other members that we had been corrupted by hostile influences. Healer Senth continued. "They said we were a threat to galactic security. The truth is, we were a threat to their power." High Counselor Zethmar was backing toward the exit. "This is lies. Terrorist propaganda." "Then prove it," President Moon challenged. "Show the assembly your evidence. Present your case against the Wanderers. Let every species here decide for themselves what the truth is." But instead of presenting evidence, High Counselor Zethmar did something that revealed everything. He activated an emergency beacon and spoke into his communicator. "All Confederation fleets implement immediate containment. These proceedings are compromised by terrorist infiltration. Destroy the assembly station and all ships present." The delegates heard every word. The truth was now undeniable. The Confederation was willing to murder hundreds of representatives from their own member species to keep their secrets hidden. Representative Clack stood up, his voice shaking with rage. "You just ordered our deaths, all of us, your own loyal members." "Acceptable losses," Zethmar replied coldly, not realizing his communicator was still broadcasting to the entire assembly. That was the moment the Galactic Confederation died. Delegates from dozens of species immediately declared their withdrawal from the Confederation. Security forces throughout the station laid down their weapons and joined the revolution. Communication networks across the galaxy carried the truth to every member world. Commander Seo Gaion led the combined human and rebel fleet. Against the Confederation, forces trying to destroy the assembly station, the battle was fierce but short. When word spread that their own leadership had tried to murder delegates from member species, most Confederation military units either surrendered or joined the rebellion. The war that followed lasted only 6 months. Once the truth was known, the Confederation collapsed from within. Species after species declared independence and joined the growing alliance of free worlds. Healer Senth's people reclaimed their ancestral homeworlds. The refugee fleets that had been hiding in deep space for centuries finally came home. Hundreds of species that had been enslaved for thousands of years were free. President Moon stood in the newly constructed Galactic Council chambers, addressing representatives from over 800 worlds. The new alliance was based on voluntary cooperation, shared knowledge, and mutual respect. Today marks a new beginning for our galaxy, he said. We learned that the most dangerous threats are not always the ones we can see coming. Sometimes the greatest danger comes from those who